Avatar, James Cameron's 2009 blockbuster smash hit, is one of the highest grossing films of all time. When I first saw it in theaters, the 3D spectacle was amazing, but I was disappointed. It felt like a cheap ripoff of Native American or indigenous history fused with Star Wars. It wasn't until seeing the movie a few more times on DVD that I realized it is a cheap ripoff of indigenous history fused with Star Wars, but that's exactly what makes it so profound. Layered deep beneath the spectacle is a truly profound narrative. After analyzing the movie on repeat and reading nearly 100 other analyses on the film, something struck me. It's right there in the title. The meaning of the word avatar as the title isn't a coincidence. That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Not just the title, but how the meaning of the title is reinforced through the movie and what that says about James Cameron's worldview and where we're at as a species today. And more importantly, where we're going. The word avatar has two main meanings. One is the origin of the word from Hindu culture, which refers to the physical bodies that God possesses here on Earth during times of need. Now, Hinduism is an extremely deep and layered religion, but it's my understanding that the mythology behind these religions, and most classical or contemporary religions, are meant to be used as a metaphor. These metaphors are powerful, and we commonly overlook the ones that our current culture is producing: movies. Before I get too deep into that train of thought, the other meaning of avatar, the one that most of us are familiar with, is the image or digital figure that represents the user online. This can be taken a step further to mean the digital representation of a physical person. We all have one. If you're watching this video, you have a web of activity, photos, likes, and dislikes that make up your online persona, or avatar. These meanings aren't just a simple play on words. The word avatar has a profound meaning throughout the film and the greater spiritual and cultural phenomenon it's referring to. I'm greatly simplifying here for the sake of time and clarity, but the avatar in Hinduism comes one by one to shift the tides of humanity. According to their beliefs and a surprising number of other religions, there are 4 eras of humanity that exist in an ever-continuing cycle. We are currently in the 3rd, and it is marked as the age of the immoral. The next era will put an end to the era of violence and immoral activity and create a global awareness with peace and knowledge conquering all. Intrinsic good will rule supreme. This will be a great golden era of humanity according to these prophecies. The Mayans had a similar prediction, and I would even argue that Revelation in the Bible refers to the same thing. What does this all have to do with Avatar? To make a clear connection, I think we should look at Star Wars. In an interview with Charlie Rose, George Lucas defined the inspiration of Star Wars.
I'm just an idea I had about psychological motifs that are in mythology, and if they're still accurate today.
He looked back through history and saw the pervasive and inspiring power of mythology on cultures throughout the world. He noticed that the Western world had started to shift away from mythology in favor of pure scientific reasoning, but realized mythology is an important part of society. It teaches us lessons, it inspires us, and it connects us through shared stories. You know what else does that? Movies. Lucas realized that and set out on a great experiment to create a modern mythology. He borrowed heavily from other movie genres he saw as mythological, like the samurai movies in Japan and the Western films in America and Europe. The really genius thing that he did was study religions from all over the world and find a common trend.
But in the end, if you think of it as one God, you say, well, everybody expresses it differently, but it's still, basically
the Force. Avatar borrows this concept not only from Lucas, but also indigenous people. Many ancient faiths believe in a similar principle that we are all part of a whole. Life is not individual spirits existing side by side, but rather one great spirit that exists in many pieces of a larger system all at once. The Na'vi people in the Avatar movies are embroiled with this kind of spiritual teachings. The humans in the movie, on the other hand, are on the far end of the spectrum away from that. To them, and in many ways this mirrors our modern imperialistic state, nature exists to be used as a resource. The trend towards this arrogant belief has been happening ever since humans started specialization and agriculture. As we disconnected more from our sources of food, literally our life energy, we stopped feeling as attached to the network that created us. Monotheism and later atheism embodied this trend. None of this is to say science is bad. Science, when approached in a moral and ethical way, helps us live longer and connect more with the world around us. This is exactly where I'm getting at with this analysis. The connection between the meanings of the word avatar have everything to do with the meaning of this movie. Technology bridges the gap between humanity separated by competitive instinct and humanity reconnected together and with life as a whole. The movie follows Jake as he reluctantly uses the advanced technology of his fellow mankind to don the physical body of the Na'vi. His initial task is selfish and is to infiltrate the Na'vi on behalf of the humans. Not long after spending time in his new body, he starts to see things from a different light. There is a great shift in his mindset from the individualism of humanity to the connectivity of all living things. It's a transition that he experiences by joining the Na'vi, and he inspires a new era on Pandora in which they can all come together and defend themselves against the threat of the humans. Technology in this case is unknowingly used to bridge the gap. The transition is made slowly and without initial intention. According to the Hindu religion and others that I mentioned earlier, there will be a great struggle and war before the new era of connectivity and enlightenment. This might all sound like spiritual folklore to some of us, but what if it's not? What if our ancestors, who were more connected with where they came from than we are, understood how this all worked? I don't mean in some omnipresent God way, but just in a systematic wisdom of how mankind would evolve as a whole. We could be in a transition period right now. Technology is making it happen. Just like in the movie, technology is proving itself to be a counterintuitive tool to bridge the human gap to full empathy and connectivity. It might not seem like it with everything going on in the world, but this theory would mean we're in a transition. Right now, we're more disconnected from our world than we ever have been due to technology, but we're more connected to each other and mankind as a whole than ever before. There are going to be a lot of struggles in this transition, and maybe even devastating war. Let's just hope that war happens to be on an intellectual and political front rather than a physically deadly one. At the end of the movie, Jake's soul is transferred from his human body into his Na'vi body, completing the cycle. Technology bridged the gap, but is no longer needed. It'll be interesting to see what James Cameron has in store for the next few Avatar movies, and certainly what the world has in store for us. This is just one theory about the meaning of Avatar, and how deeply James Cameron talks about these movies. I think it's a likely explanation. Whether you believe there's something bigger at play here or not, the movie connects to a story as old as we are. The struggle between human ambition with technology and humans' spirit to connect to nature. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Is it too much of a stretch? Did you get something else entirely when you watched the movie? I love the philosophical discussions that happened in the last video about Arrival, so let's do the same here. We're really trying to up the quality and quantity of the videos we're making, so let us know what kind of stuff you want to see. And in the meantime, subscribe to this channel for more videos like it. Until next time, this was Craig with Sideline Pictures.